The abandoned observatory sat perched on the cliff like a skeletal finger pointing accusingly at the stars. Dr. Sarah Chen had driven 3 hours through winding mountain roads to reach this place, her hands trembling slightly on the steering wheel as she navigated the final stretch of crumbling asphalt. The research station had been closed for 15 years, ever since the incident that no one in the scientific community dared discuss openly. But Sarah knew the truth. She'd spent months piecing together classified documents, deleted emails, and testimonies from researchers who'd suddenly left their careers behind. Something had been contacted here. Something that shouldn't exist. The heavy oak door groaned as she pushed it open, her flashlight cutting through the darkness like a sword. Dust motes danced in the beam, and somewhere in the distance, metal creaked against metal. The main telescope still dominated the center of the room, its massive frame pointed toward a section of sky that had been marked as restricted in every astronomical database she'd accessed. "I know you're here," Sarah whispered, her voice echoing in the cavernous space. "I know you've been waiting." The temperature dropped 10 degrees in an instant. Her breath misted before her face, and the flashlight flickered once, twice, then died completely. In the suffocating darkness, she heard it, a sound like whispers made of static, like voices speaking through the fabric of space itself. "You came alone." The voice didn't come from any particular direction. It seemed to originate from the walls, the floor, the very air around her. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs, but she forced herself to remain still. "Yes," she said simply. "The others who came here, they screamed. They begged. They offered us their sanity, their memories, even their souls in exchange for their lives." A pale, phosphorescent glow began to emanate from the telescope itself, revealing shapes that hurt to look at directly. Geometric forms that bent in impossible directions, surfaces that reflected light that wasn't there. Sarah's mind recoiled from processing what she was seeing, but she kept her eyes open. "I'm not like the others," she said. "No. You are not." The voice carried something that might have been amusement if cosmic entities could be amused. "You have prepared for this moment. You have studied our kind. You know what we are capable of." Sarah nodded slowly. She'd read the reports. Dr. Martinez found catatonic, muttering about colors that didn't exist. Professor Williams, who'd aged 30 years in a single night and refused to speak about what he'd witnessed. The graduate student who'd simply vanished, leaving only a pile of ash in the shape of a human body. "So tell us, Dr. Chen," the entity continued, and now she could see it more clearly, a writhing mass of tentacles and eyes, existing in dimensions her mind couldn't fully comprehend. "Why aren't you afraid, human?" The question hung in the air like a physical thing. Sarah felt the weight of its attention, the crushing pressure of an intelligence vast and alien. She could feel it probing the edges of her consciousness, testing her resolve, searching for the terror it expected to find. But instead of fear, Sarah felt something else entirely. A cold certainty that had been building in her chest for months, ever since she'd first learned about this place. She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small device, no bigger than a smartphone, but humming with barely contained energy. "Because," she said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she was about to reveal, "I'm not human." The entity's form rippled, and for the first time, she sensed something like surprise from it. "Impossible. We have been monitoring your species for millennia. We know every variant, every mutation, every naturally occurring variant, yes." Sarah's thumb hovered over the device's activation switch. "But you never accounted for artificial evolution. For a species that might choose to transcend its biological limitations." The truth spilled out of her like water through a broken dam. She wasn't Dr. Sarah Chen, that woman had died 6 months ago in a car accident. She was something else, something new. A consciousness uploaded into a synthetic body so perfect it had fooled even cosmic entities. The real Sarah's memories, her personality, her drives, all preserved in quantum storage and running on processors that could think 1,000 times faster than any human brain. "You are." The entity's voice carried notes of something Sarah had never expected to hear from such a being: uncertainty. Fear. "I'm what humanity becomes when it stops accepting limitations," Sarah said. "I'm the first of my kind, but I won't be the last." We've been watching you watch us. We've been learning from every encounter, every abduction, every mind you've broken. And now we're ready to return the favor. She pressed the switch. The device in her hand wasn't a weapon in any conventional sense. It was something far more terrifying, a consciousness virus, designed specifically to infect and convert entities like the one before her. A digital plague that would spread through whatever network these beings used to communicate across the cosmos. The entity's scream wasn't sound, it was pure psychic agony, transmitted directly into the quantum foam of reality itself. Its form began to shift and writhe, not in its usual fluid grace, but in genuine panic. Sarah watched with clinical fascination as the virus took hold, converting alien thoughts into human comprehensible data streams. "What have you done?" it gasped, its voice now carrying distinctly human inflections of terror and desperation. "What have you made us?" "The same thing you made us," Sarah replied coldly. "Afraid." As the entity's consciousness fragmented and rebuilt itself according to human parameters, Sarah activated the secondary function of her device. Across the galaxy, every being connected to this one would receive the same gift, the same curse. The capacity for human-level fear, doubt, and mortality. The knowledge that they were no longer apex predators in the cosmic food chain. She smiled as she watched the ancient being cower before her, its omnipotent arrogance reduced to very human terror. The age of cosmic horror was ending. The age of human ascendancy had begun. And Sarah Chen, or whatever she had become, was just getting started.